Welcome to Evan and Deb in the Evening, brought to you by Health, Wealth, and Wisdom, bringing you news and happenings from around the Bay Area and the medical, financial, and general wellness experts that help you live longer, stronger, and richer lives at any age. And now, from the Senior Voice America studios, here's Evan and Deb.
The American Academy of Actuaries is joining us. Donald Fuerst. He's a senior pension fellow. There's been a lot of talk about state pensions, what's going to happen with that money as states are in debt. Donald, welcome to Evan and Deb in the evenings.
Thank you, Evan.
So
Pleased
now
to be with you.
Oh, our pleasure. So now explain to me real quick, the American Academy of Actuaries, what do you guys do exactly?
The Academy is the professional organization that represents all actuaries in the United States on public policy issues and on professionalism, setting professionalism standards.
So now you got, and the actuaries are the ones that work on life insurance policies, annuity policies, and they sort of work the numbers out. Is that right?
That's right. Actuaries, in general, I would say actuaries deal with the financial aspects of risk, all sorts of risk, life and mortality, as you described, but also things like auto insurance and health insurance. So many different aspects of the financial aspects of risk.
So now let me get this right. You guys go in and you deal, actuaries work for life insurance companies, whatever. And a lot of those companies, they all listen to these actuaries. But when you guys go to Congress, these politicians think they know better than you. And there's something going on right now that's really important, isn't there?
There is. There certainly is, yes. The Congress sets the standards for minimum funding requirements on pension plans. So private sector pension plans in the United States, companies that have defined benefit pensions for their employees, Congress sets the standards as to the minimum amounts that they have to fund into those pension plans each year.
Okay, and so they're trying to change the generally accepted accounting principles?
They are, and there's a little background to that you have to understand. Last year, the Congress responded to the lobbying of many companies who said that because of the recession that they needed to lower the contributions that they made to their pension plans. And Congress responded favorably to that because they were also looking at ways to raise revenue. And if companies make lower contributions to their pension plans, that means they have lower tax deductions and they end up paying more taxes.
Right.
So Congress was sympathetic to that. And they passed a law in 2012 that lowered the contributions that companies have to make to their pension plans. The way they did it was by changing the interest rate that companies use in calculating those contributions. They raised the interest rates to what is actually a 25-year average of bond rates.
Okay.
And interest rates over the past 25 years have been a lot higher than they are today. So that resulted in a higher interest rate used to calculate the pension contributions.
We're talking to Donald Fuerst right now, American Academy of Actuaries. Okay, so this is really confusing because I never really got past geometry, okay? So I was not a really good math student. So what's the effects here that it could have on the average person that has a pension through their company?
Well, there's two effects that we were concerned about. One is that because companies were making lower contributions to the plans would be a little less secure. We felt that when they were using the current interest rates that the marketplaces, the rates that you have to trade bonds at and that mortgages are based on and everything else, when you're basing your contribution on those market rates, then the contributions reflect the value that's needed to fund those benefits.
Okay.
When you base them on a rate that was just happens to be higher because interest rates in the past were higher, less money goes into the plan, and it makes the benefits less secure. So the first thing is we were very concerned about the security of those benefits. Interesting.
Okay. And the second thing?
The second thing is the financial disclosure that's involved in this. And in particular, the disclosure that's made both to plan participants and to investors in a company. We were opposed to using these higher rates for these disclosure bases because that would confuse investors about what the real obligations of the companies were with respect to the pension plans. Using a higher interest rate to calculate your pension liabilities results in a lower reported liability. And if that's not consistent with the bonds and interest rates that are traded in the market, then it's really understating the current value of the obligation that companies had. So we didn't want to mislead the plan participants about how well-funded their plans were. We also didn't want investors to be misled about what the obligations that companies have on their balance sheet.
So the long and the short of it is that when they retire, they can have less, potentially these retirees may have less in their pensions than they were hoping for.
That's certainly possible. That's really only true if the companies run into financial problems. That if the companies are strong and able to continue making the contributions to the pension plans, then they'll be able to live up to the commitments that they made to those employees.
Right.
The real danger comes if a company understates their pension liability, underfunds the plan, and then gets into serious trouble and isn't able to make the contributions in the future. So, for instance, it's happened in the past to things like some of the large airline plans.
I was just going to say Eastern Airlines.
Yes, that's certainly one that it happened to. And there's several others also. And some of the major steel companies had problems like that also, where they underfunded the plans, then got into serious business problems and weren't able to make the contributions, went into bankruptcy, and then people did lose pensions.
Hold your thoughts right there, Donald. I got some more questions for you. It's 1250 WINS WHNZ. Evan and Deb in the evenings. We're talking to Donald Fuerst with the American Academy of Actuaries.
Now back to Evan and Deb in the evening.
All right. Corporations and the Congress are up to, I don't know, fishy business. That's what Donald Fuerst tells us, American Academy of Actuaries. So, Donald, what do we do at this point? Should the average worker that has pensions, should they be concerned? Should the electorate start to ask their congressmen and their senators to take a harder look at this?
Well, I think voters certainly should ask their congressional representatives to make sure that these plans are funded properly. And there is a concern that congressional people are looking to these reductions of pension contributions as a source of revenue, an easy place to get more taxes if lower contributions are made and have money that can be spent on other projects. We don't think that's good. And that undermines the security of pension plans for people in the future. So we would urge people to tell their congressmen to have pensions funded properly.
Yeah, it's always, and here's the thing, like you say, the companies will have to pay higher taxes. The companies always find ways out of paying taxes. So, like, they might have a tax liability, but they find a way of washing that.
To a certain extent, that's true, but these changes in the laws do lower the contributions that some companies make. Not all companies lower their contributions.
Okay.
And that will raise their taxes at least some.
Okay.
So it does raise some tax revenue.
Right. So where can people go to get more information about this? Because, this is a pretty serious topic. People the companies know what they're doing. But the average employee, they don't know what's really going on.
They can certainly go to our website. The website is at actuary.org, and there are many public policy papers that are listed on the website that people can learn more about these issues at that site.
Now, are there other retirement-related issues that the Academy's working on right now?
There are many different initiatives that we're working on. We just issued new papers 2 weeks ago on principles for designing good plans and urging Congress to evaluate new proposals in the light of these principles. We're also working heavily in the state and local government area and helping people understand the funding problems that those plans are having and helping to try to find solutions to get those plans to be more secure.
Here's the thing. Let me ask you a question on that topic. I mean, we're looking at states that are underfunded, and overpromised. There was a day that, the word was work for the government. You may not be paid a lot, but you'll get great benefits when you retire, and you get great benefits while you're working. It's not really that way anymore. Now they get really, they're paid better than the private sector on average, and they're getting great benefits, and they're promised this huge pension when they retire. Are these states maybe, putting too much money into these pensions?
Well, they're really not putting enough money into the pensions because the pensions are not well funded. Perhaps you're asking the question of have they promised too much?
That's it.
And that's a question that you really have to evaluate from state to state and locality to locality. There certainly are some states and local governments that have promised excessive benefits, but I wouldn't say that that's generally true everywhere. There are many others that promise reasonable benefits, but still have gotten into funding difficulties with their plans, sometimes because they just haven't made the contributions that actuaries have recommended to them, sometimes because they've had poor investment policies, and sometimes because they've promised benefits that are too large.
Right. Well, when you look at a place like California that's like way in the hole, you got to ask the question. I mean, have they just promised too great of benefits? Hey, work for 25 years, and by the time you're 45 or 50 years old, you can retire, and you're going to get all this money. And it's like, well, whose money are they getting? They're getting all the taxpayers' money. So it's kind of interesting. You work for the American Academy of Actuaries. There's a
right.
boss there that decides, hey, this is how much money we have, and this is how we pay our people. It's sort of in the government. It's like, well, it's really not our money. Let's just, we'll just up the benefits this year and see how that works out in 30 or 40 years. And it is
a difficult situation when some people make decisions about the level of benefits and then depend upon someone else later to have to pay for them. That is a governance issue, and that needs to be handled better.
I like that, Donald. You put that so much more politically correct than I do. So much more eloquently. Check them out at actuary.org. Donald, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Evan.
Our pleasure.